on a podcast called J is for Justice.
I think there's just hope that she returns no matter what. Oh my God, that's Megan's house. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And then,
wait a second, you guys. We have breaking news. All of a sudden in the chat, there was breaking news that there was a raid going on in Houston, Texas. It may be connected to a high-profile case.
That's her best friend. She would not be there.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for your patience and welcome to J is for Justice. We are finally here to do this timeline. I've got Melissa and Carl with me tonight. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you are new to my channel, my name is Jay. And thank you to the mods that are here to keep order while we do this timeline. And I'm going to introduce my guests now. You guys are going to be unmuted, so behave. We've got Carl and Melissa. Hey, guys.
Hi.
So we're ready to walk through this timeline, and we've got Carl here to fill in some gaps on things that he's found and figured out. And I don't know how you keep it in your mind, but you do.
Just good at filling gaps, I guess.
Oh, well, we have a little comment in chat for you.
Oh, wonderful.
Paige would like to know. I wanted to ask Carl about his butthole. Where's your shirt, yo? Would you like to tell them why they can't?
It.
Yeah, do you want to tell them why they can't see your shirt tonight?
Because I'm not wearing it?
Because you're on your phone.
Oh, I'm on my phone.
Right, you don't have a pic. And luckily, Jay is on top of it and changed your name of your phone before we went live.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. I always got your back.
I'm sure Kathy will share it anyway. So.
Oh my God.
Hi, Kathy. Burning hell.
Who's Kathy? I want to know.
The lady that doxed me last week.
Oh, I don't know Kathy.
Yeah,
I don't like doxers.
She's a lovely person.
I don't like doxers. That's not cool. We don't do that here.
She's like, hey, share this live video with your friends. It's me agreeing to our truce. And I knew it was fishy, and so I showed it to one of my admins to play it, and it was her basically her doxing me and hoping that I was going to play it live in front of our 16,000 people in our group. She's a snake in the grass.
Wow. Well, Kathy, if you're listening, that wasn't very nice. No, really, that is not cool. I hate when people take shit real life. It's not cool at all.
Yeah.
But boo to Kathy. So shall we begin with the players in this case, right? Because we're always asked who's that and how are they related, and someone's got some background sound going.
For a pin. It might be me.
That's all right. Okay, so the players in this case. Let's start with Tylee Ryan. She is the biological daughter of Lori Vallow and Joseph Ryan. Now, this is a little outdated. First, I want to give props to Annie for her timeline, because we are using her timeline with her permission. But at the time, Annie Cushing, sorry. But at the time that she typed this up, this was actually before the kids were found. So some of this information might be a little outdated. We do know current location. She has been found, age 17. She was last seen on September 8th of 2019. And then we have J.J. Vallow, who is the adopted son of Charles and Lori Vallow. Age 7, last seen on 9/23, and he was last seen at Kennedy Elementary School. Now that's all correct, right? That was the last time he was seen, was at school.
Yes. I know he was last seen on Ring.
On the Ring doorbell, yeah. Playing outside. So is there anything that you guys want to add about the kids? I know there's been some things that have come out this past week about Joseph Ryan and Charles Vallow and all this other stuff, these court documents. I don't know if you've seen those, Carl.
Yeah, and Colby.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
reason why they had to have cameras in the house and
yeah. That's not really stuff I want to talk about as far as
no.
Colby goes. But like as far as the kids, do you know what year they adopted JJ? Or how old he was?
Not off the top of my head. There's
I mean,
so many dates. The
he was
dates are
pretty
the hard
little
part.
though, right? He was pretty small when they adopted him.
Yeah. Kay had for a while before that. Like, I can't remember the exact amount of time, but it wasn't like a crazy amount of time. I think JJ was at least like under 2 when
Oh,
it all happened.
he was that little.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was young. It wasn't like he was 6.
Wow. Okay. So we'll get to Kay and Larry in a minute. So then we have Lori Vallow, aka Lori Daybell, who is the biological mother of Colby Ryan and Tylee Ryan, and the adopted mother of JJ Vallow, and the person of interest in the disappearance of Tylee and JJ. She is in Madison County Jail in Rexburg, Idaho, and she's married to husband number 5, Chad Daybell. So what she has is notable here is that she married Chad Daybell less than 2 weeks after his wife Tammy died of suspicious causes. So that's huge. Then we have Chad Daybell is the influencer with the Doomsday Prepper group Preparing a People. Now, is he still with the group Preparing a People? Have they disowned him pretty much?
He basically is. You know how they put out public statements saying one thing, but secretly they're like telling everyone, okay, we're going to say this, and everyone else needs to go hide underground and just lay low.
Yeah.
Or because if you get caught, you're going to get excommunicated and we can't help you.
So that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah. And then there's the whole thing with Mike and Nancy James Preparing a People.
What's going on?
Yeah. Media.
Oh, we have
The whole thing with,
an echo.
and then there was the whole thing with Mike and Nancy James and all that, Preparing a People and Color My Media. So
That's a whole nother avenue down this case, isn't it? All right.
Yeah. They right now, okay, so I'm trying to think of the YouTuber's name that had been following the case really well, and she passed away. And one of her fellow YouTubers, I don't know exactly what her relationship was, if they were friends or if she was like a mod for the channel, but she waited for a bit, and then I think that she talked with the family and she was working on getting access to the files on the computer so that she could pick up where she left off with the case. And I think, yeah, someone said Denise. Her name was Denise. And I don't know where we stand or where she stands with the family allowing access to the files or whatnot, but I know that she had downloaded all the podcasts from Preparing a People that had Lori, Chad, Jason, and Mike and Nancy found out about it, and they've been sending her emails basically threatening her about releasing them. She had released like one of the podcasts, and they had commented on it and been emailing her back and forth about taking it down and threatening lawsuits and all that. And so she's kind of going through the ringer with that, trying to figure out if they're just kind of threats, hoping that she'll just delete them and go away. Right. Or if she can actually get in trouble, because I know they said something about her using their like screenshots from one of their conferences or something like that, and it had their logo in it. So they were trying to say that it's like copyrighted and all that. And she's like, that's a screenshot, so there's no rules against that. So nice try. Basically called them out for every single thing they were lying on or they had no clue about. So it should be interesting. I can't really tell details. We promise not to release them or like really go into detail while she figures the whole thing out. But just Mike and Nancy being shady again.
Oh.
So.
And this is all new to me. I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, this goes back to our conversation on the last podcast about preparing a people, and that's where like Dan Judd came into play with all that spicy new stuff going on there.
Mm-hmm. Dan Judd.
And most people won't even, that's a name that isn't going to be familiar with anybody. So once we jump on that and move forward with that, it's going to be some hot tea. People are going to be interested.
For sure.
They're going to be excited for that.
I'm excited for that. Are you kidding me? Okay.
It's going to be good.
All right, let's go back to the players. So we got Chad, who was with Preparing a People, and his current location is in, it's not the Madison County. What county is he? Fremont? What county?
They're all like right there next to each other.
Yeah, so he's in the county jail. He's married to Lori Vallow, and he was a cemetery sexton grave digger. He wrote a book, One Foot in the Grave, about his experiences and interactions with departed spirits. Then we have Charles Vallow, who is Lori Vallow's fourth husband and father to a biological son and 2 adopted sons, one of which is JJ. So he adopted Colby and he adopted JJ with Lori. They got married on February 24th of 2006, and Charles died on 7/11/19. Weird, that was yesterday.
Yep.
He was shot and killed by Lori Vallow's brother, Alex Cox. Notable, Lori Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and JJ Vallow were home at the time of the shooting. Tammy Daybell is the wife of Chad Daybell, who died in her sleep of suspicious causes. She died on 10/19/19. Still waiting for the autopsy on that. Come back. I personally think they have it done, but I think it has something to do with like charges and things like that. Why we haven't heard anything about that. It's going to be part of the trial, I think.
I think they said but once the embalming happens, that the tests are a lot harder to get results back.
Yeah, so it took a really long time for them to. Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, they
don't send it all off at once. They kind of wait for results to come back before they send off more requests.
Yeah, so if people don't know, she was actually buried. There was no suspicion at the time. She was buried, and then they exhumed her body when all of this, in January, right? I think something like that. Because Lori was arrested in January.
I think she was arrested in February. Alex died in December.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hawaii.
Alex died the day after they exhumed Tammy's body.
Yes, yeah, that's what it was. Then Alex died.
So, all right, let's finish up with Tammy. So she was approached by a masked man carrying what she thought was a paintball gun 10 days before she died. So keep that in the back of your brains. And then we have Alex Cox, a.k.a. Alex Pastens. How do you say her name?
Zulema.
So
Zulema.
Alex is Lori Vallow's brother. He died on 12/12/19. and that was from a blood clot in the lung, we found out. And he is married to Zulema Estenis. They got married on November 29th of 19. And then Alex took Zulema's last name. Now, why did he take her last name? Do we know?
I'm pretty sure it's just because of all the shady shit that he was involved with, and she kind of had a fresh name
Yeah.
other than like her drug charges and her arrest, but it was a lot cleaner than Alex and Barry and Janice, everything that he was tied to with them. So
Is Annie in chat right now? Annie Cushing is here. Hey, Annie. Thank you for letting us use your timeline tonight. All right, so he just wanted a fresh start. He was like, Cox is a little shady. Get a fresh start with this chick, and that's what he did. So on November 29th, he married her. And then let's move on to Melanie, aka Melanie Boudreau, Melanie Pulowski now. She's Lori Vallow's niece who followed her into the cult. Lori joined. She's married now to Ian Pulowski. They got married on 11/30/19. So that was the Vegas wedding, right? So Alex,
yeah, the one that the family denied until Summer made her little Alex Cox music video memorial and released the pictures of Alex, Zulema, Melanie, and Ian at the chapel together in their wedding dresses.
all in Vegas.
Yeah.
So it's
Even
notable.
after she denied it.
Big mad when that was found. Melanie married Ian Pulowski 4.5 months after Ian Pulowski was divorced, and less than 2 weeks after she and Brandon were divorced. Wow. So they got married quick.
We just found out Brandon's remarried.
He's remarried too?
Yeah.
Well, don't mess around. All right, now on to Brandon. He's the next one. He's the former husband of Melanie and Boudreau. Am I saying that right? Boudreau?
Yeah, I think so.
And father, close enough. And father of 4 children who was shot at. So he was shot at as well and thought it was a paint gun. Is that what it was?
No. He never thought it was a paintball gun. That was just Tammy.
That was
Alex
just
for sure thought it was a gun with a silencer on it. It went through his window. I never heard anything about a shell casing being found or seeing anyone like get out of that Jeep and grab the shell casing and go, or like the bullet being found in the car. Like you'd think it would go through the window and like into a seat or something,
right,
drop into the car. Like
right.
It wouldn't just disintegrate. They would find it on the ground or something. But I don't know if they did find it, but nothing's been said about it.
Not yet, maybe. So that was on 10/2 that he was shot. So he was shot at on October 2nd. That was a busy month, October. Then we have Zulema Pestenes, whatever. She is an LDS member and self-professed emotion code practitioner. She listed cuddling services in one of her profiles. That's interesting.
Yeah, she's a professional
cuddling
cuddler.
Services.
And
nice.
Predict earthquakes, or she could make earthquakes happen.
Oh, really?
Supposedly that's why she was in Las Vegas.
She can make earthquakes happen and she can cuddle really good?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, so
Earth-shattering cuddles.
Is she still LDS then?
Yeah.
Okay, she is. And do we know where she is? Because she married Alex in November and then he died in December. So has she surfaced since?
So when Melanie had her court hearing for her divorce stuff with Brandon, Zulema and Summer showed up walking into the courthouse with her, and then she'd kind of gone off radar, off grid. But in the last podcast that you and I did together, someone in the chat had said that she had left the country, but then the following day after that, someone else commented and said, "No, I just talked to her. She's still in the States."
I did see that. She is around, she said.
Yeah, but the other person was like, she left the country.
Yeah,
but both of them had said they talked to her, so it wasn't like someone just made a comment saying, what they thought they knew. They were like, "Oh, I talked to her, and this is where she's at."
Oh, that was
So
Sweetie
two
Pie's.
conflicting statements.
Sweetie Pie's in chat. She said that was me.
Which one was her? Which one did she say that she was left the country or that she was still here?
Yeah, Sweetie Pie. Which one were you? I think you were the one that said that she was here. And you had talked to her because I think I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, see if she'll tell us what they were talking about.
Yeah, she said I talked to her.
Yeah, what was...
Do you want to call in,
give us
Sweetie?
the details.
Sweetie Pie, if you want to call... no, offline? She talked to her via text.
Oh, well, she should still call us and tell us what they were talking about.
Yeah, can you tell us what... Oh, she did a video on it, she said. Can you talk about it with us? It's no longer Preparing a People. Now it's called Follow Me 2020 LDS.
It's something they're supposedly doing with another LDS member they're trying to say that like he's a good guy and he's clean, but he's just another Daybell. It's just one of their posse members. All they've done is change the name and switch over, trying to bury this. They're pretending like it never happened.
Yeah, they just put a mask on it.
Everyone that talks about it is a bad person. They're lying. They just want to, every time you say something about it, like even if it's facts, they're like, "Why would you do this to me and my 7 children? We're just trying to put food on their plates." It's like, you did this to yourself. We're just talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, so, all right. So another interesting thing about this Zulema is the way that Alex died, right? So, all right. So Zulema married Alex Cox less than 2 weeks before he died. He took her last name. And then her 25-year-old son, Joseph Lopez, found Cox unresponsive in the bathroom. He didn't know his last name and referred to Cox as his mom's boyfriend, not husband. Do we know anything about this? Joseph Lopez.
They were saying, "All right, well, is he responsive?" And he was saying, "Yeah, he's responsive." And they're like, "All right, well, get down and do CPR." Or he's unresponsive, but he's breathing. And they're like, "We'll get down and do CPR." And he's like, "No, he's covered in shit."
Right. He didn't want to touch him.
All right, well, yeah. They're like, "Okay, well, he's going to die if you don't do anything." And he was like, kind of just like, "Oh, well."
Yeah, he's kind of like, I'm all good with that. But did you ever reach out and try to find him?
He shut off. A couple of us had sent messages to him and he deactivated. I don't know if he's back on now, but there were some people like Natalie Pulowski in the beginning. She was talkative. She was talking in our group.
Really?
She laid down a bunch of dirt on Ian. And then Natalie's mom got in there and she was ripping on people because this was when we didn't really know the facts. We were just putting pieces together.
Right.
And there were so many players that no one had really dug deep into anyone yet. Everyone had just kind of touched the top of each person. And like Kelsey Ryan's mom was in the group, and she was freaking losing her lid on people. But
Really?
and then like all around the same time, like Natalie ended up deleting all of her stuff. She got scared and she deleted all of her stuff. I think that was around the time that Ian was possibly wearing the wire and trying to catch Melanie, which I think is a bunch of crap.
Oh, Annie just said in chat, the reference to Zulema and Alex preparing earthquakes came from Ian Pulowski's FBI doc. And she quoted that Al and Zulema had stayed in Las Vegas and were preparing earthquakes at the time I spoke with the police. So that was from Ian saying they were there preparing earthquakes. Weird.
Yeah.
I've never heard
no
anything
wedding.
like this. Is so bizarre. They were there to prepare earthquakes, not get hitched, right? So it doesn't sound like, back to her son, this Lopez kid, it doesn't sound like he even knew his mom married this joker, right? Like he didn't even know. Did he
Or he was too embarrassed to
admit
want to
it?
admit it.
Yeah, what a
I
scumbag.
know I would be.
Poor guy. Actually, when I heard that 911 call, I really felt bad for him because, and we didn't even know all of the facts then, you know, and I felt bad for that kid. I was like, he's like, it's my
Yeah.
mom's boyfriend. Like, he's shit all over himself and he's like dying and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, he seemed like it was like someone did him a favor. He was just like, all right, maybe I'll just delay this phone call for a bit, go get some Cheetos, and
like, I don't mean to
come back
laugh,
and
but
see if he's still breathing.
I don't mean to laugh, but it was like that. So
I mean, it's Alex, so no one should feel bad.
did she live with him? Or did the son live with his mother? You know?
I don't remember if it said that he did or if he had just come over to the house or something like that.
God, you come to your
Either way,
mother's
he had just
house.
gotten to the house.
Yeah, he comes in and he finds this dude. He's like, who is this guy? Anyway, I don't even know his last name. And he's dying in my bathroom. Poor guy. I mean, that really sick. All right, so he found him in the bathroom, didn't know his last name. Alex ultimately dies. Then we have Colby Ryan, who is Lori's adult biological son and Tylee and JJ's half-brother. He is married to Kelsey Ryan. We saw Kelsey on Zoom with during the court hearing. Kelsey was on there with Colby on Zoom. Then we have Larry and Kay Woodcock, who are JJ's biological grandparents, and Kay is Charles Vallow's sister. And she noted here that Larry and Kay had offered a $20,000 reward for information leading to the discovery of JJ and Tylee. And then she noted that because Charles Vallow is JJ Vallow's adopted father, Kay Woodcock is technically both his aunt and grandmother, but she identifies as JJ's grandmother. So that clears up a little bit of confusion there with, you know, the relations and all that.
I think she had put 10,000 down, and some agency put down 10. And then there was the whole thing about how they were told not to do anything more.
They were told that by law enforcement?
They said that the FBI told them that they weren't supposed to, that they couldn't do anything more. And that's caused some drama as well from other people that have said that's not what happens, or people that have called and talked to the FBI and they were like, no, we wouldn't say that.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to address Andrew in chat. Andrew, he just got timed out. But I did receive your email, dude, and I plan on getting back with you. I've just been a little busy, all chomping at the bit.
Andrew Ryan?
Yeah, he just got timed out. So when he comes back, just chill, Andrew.
He's mad because that's April Parker's boo-boo, and we kicked him out of the group. He's begging like a little puppy dog to come back in.
Oh
He
my
doesn't
God.
understand
Okay.
that
Oh my God.
he's part of the problem.
All right. So,
And he likes to call women,
okay.
see you next Tuesdays.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna have a Carl versus Andrew night one night, and I'll have you both on here at the same time.
Freestyle.
Yeah, why not? All right. Joseph Ryan. Who is he? He is Lori Vallow's third husband and the biological father of Tylee Ryan and the adopted father of Colby Ryan. He died on April 3rd of 18. Alex Cox went to jail for assaulting Joseph Ryan with a stun gun and allegedly threatening to kill Ryan. Also, Lori Vallow was the only next of kin in the medical examiner's office. Oh, the next of kin the medical examiner's office had at the time of Ryan's death. She never returned any of their calls or notified me of my brother's passing. And this is Annie talking, Annie Cushing. Even though we had been friends since 2002 and she had my contact info, there was no funeral for him. Another family member was contacted by a funeral home more than a month after he had died. So I did see the text where Lori was ignoring his children when they were texting her.
Yeah. No, that was Lori was ignoring Charles' kids
Oh, that was Charles
from his first marriage with Cheryl.
Jesus. So she did this to Joseph's kids too.
Yeah, but it was just a Colby.
Oh, he didn't have other kids. I'm confused.
I don't think Joe adopted Colby. I think they just changed his last name to Ryan. I don't think there was an adoption.
Oh, okay. Well, it said that he adopted.
I know, and I think that's just because the name changed.
The name
but I
change,
think that
okay.
people have dug up, and there isn't any adoption records for
Oh,
Joe
all right. So he just took him
Colby.
on and gave him his last name.
Or Lori just changed the last name.
Had him go by Colby Ryan.
Yeah, I don't...
So there was no funeral for Joseph, and I guess his sister Annie didn't even. Oh, Annie said she invited her out to be support for Tylee. There.
Yeah, but like a while after.
Okay, so Annie said yes. They told me he adopted Colby. It looks like Lori changed his last name. So there was no adoption. See, everybody's confused. That's why we're doing this. Someone said, doesn't seem like they have the facts.
Well, let's hear what you have.
Let's hear your facts and have it all
Right?
make sense. my God.
Logging off now.
Oh my God. All right. So Melanie Gibb. Melanie Gibb has been talked about lately. She is a friend of Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell, and the one Lori said Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow were with. So a lot of things to note about Melanie Gibb, that she and Lori introduced their new podcast, Time to Warrior Up, on 12/5/18. And early on, someone said Chad was a guest in this kickoff episode, but I can't confirm since the recordings have been taken down. Have we ever gotten a hold of that Time to Warrior Up recording?
We know who, when I was talking to you earlier about the podcast being downloaded,
Mm-hmm.
she has them.
Oh, wow.
And this kind of like also goes back to our conversation we had about Mr. Mystery Man and saying that he has the evidence that Chad and Tammy went to a camp out held by Christopher Parrott, and Lori and Tylee attended the same one. And when like Tammy would go to bed and Tylee would go to bed, and Chad and Lori would
They'd
go
meet
out
up.
and go around the campsite and be shady together.
So this person has proof.
He says he has proof, but
Mhm.
he says he has proof, And every time we're like, all right, cool, let's see the proof. And he's like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Give me the Dropbox. Give him the Dropbox info. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah, something happened.
I got a family emergency.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, your email. I don't like that email. It sounds shady. And then he blocks you.
So he's either scared. I mean, we know he has the stuff because he actually sent a couple teasers, or he sent a teaser.
Yeah, he did. But he also said that he has evidence that Chad and Lori had known each other for 8 years. And we're like, okay, well, let's see it. And then
right, and he hasn't produced
silence for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to speak with you, Dan.
Yeah, me too, Dan. I'm more than willing to speak with you.
I'm not calling you a liar. I want to hear about your info. I want to hear what you have, and I want to be able to.
I want to hear what I want to hear what he saw.
Yeah. I mean, he says he has it. Like, he said that he has proof that Julie Rowe was at the campsite, like, teaching people how to transcribe on water. And she was selling sessions on how to do it for like $100 an hour, something like that. And that his wife still has the brochure at the house.
Oh. All right,
Dan.
Dan.
You think that this shit can't get more weird, and it just keeps getting. More.
It gets worse and worse. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to hear that podcast episode. In February 2019, Chad wrote the foreword of her book, Melanie's book, Feel the Fire. She was unresponsive to Rexburg Police Department's attempts to get a hold of her on November 26th, the day they questioned Lori and Chad about the whereabouts of JJ VALLOW, forcing RPD to reach out to the Gilbert Police Department. She doesn't speak to them until the next day, giving Chad and Lori significant lead time to flee the state. She also waits 10 days to inform law enforcement in Rexburg that both Lori and Chad had contacted her separately on the 26th of November and asked her to lie to detectives to tell them that JJ was with her. And then a source close to Gibb says she has retained an attorney and is cooperating with authorities. So what do we know now? That she was working with authorities, correct?
Melanie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, she worked with authorities, but she took her sweet ass time doing it. And you saw her interview on Dateline. It seemed like she was on drugs and all loopy, and she still bought into every little thing that Chad and everyone else talked about, but she didn't agree with the kids being killed part. She never said anything bad about anything else.
So it's true that she was unresponsive to the Rexburg police on that day?
Yeah. I think she gave them 10 days. She wouldn't answer Rexburg's phone calls. So Chandler PD, they had to get all the information, everything, and then they went over to the house.
Okay, so...
And that's when they finally talked to her. But I think, because that's when Chad and Lori had talked to her on the phone and said, just tell them you're at a movie with JJ or you're at the park and take a picture of a bunch of random kids and just tell them that JJ's in the crowd.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, like that would be okay. Like a cop would be like, oh yeah.
Wow. So let me get this straight though, because all right. So the 26th was when Lori and Chad both asked her to lie and say that she had JJ with her, right?
Yeah.
So she knew this. She thought it was sketchy, or she thought something was up. So she just ignored their calls. So she didn't answer them and say, oh yeah, he's with me, or no, he's not with me. She just didn't answer on purpose.
Right.
Okay, Annie goes, she wasn't home. Gilbert PD got her on the phone later. Personally, I think she was on her way to David Warwick's. I don't even know who that is. It's a whole nother.
David's her boyfriend, or what did Dateline call him? An associate,
Oh.
a friend.
Oh, yeah.
But Melanie did like what the rest of them do: leave their husbands and their kids and go with someone else who's part of the 144,000. David's the guy that they tried to say that David rescued her and talked sense into her and pulled her out. But you go back and you look at all the preparing of people flyers and stuff, and David Warwick's a speaker at all of these conferences. So he's just as wrapped into it as everyone else is. It wasn't like he's just some nice guy that she met at the grocery store and was like, this doesn't sound okay.
Right.
Like they totally met doing podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, all these people hid a lot.
Yeah,
of stuff.
David said that about David.
Is that Annie said that? All right, so now Gibb is what? Was she the one that helped them figure all this out, or think?
Did Melanie help the cops find the kids?
Not find the kids, but I know that was Alex's phone, but do you think that she was, I mean, with her info about the phone calls, like, hey, tell them, that you have JJ and stuff like that. I mean, do you think that that's going to be a big part of their evidence in this case?
I don't know. I think Melanie's kind of like a Julie Rowe. Like, she can help make sense of everything, but she's not telling the truth. She can just kind of like help you understand their ideology and what they think and how it all ties in with each other. But I don't think that Melanie's told the truth at all. Yeah, slam piece. David was her slam piece.
I saw that. Okay, now that we've got all the people, there's people too that we haven't talked about, but let's start on the timeline. All right. So 8507. We're starting in 07. Alex was arrested in Austin, Texas for aggravated assault, second degree, against Lori's third husband, Joseph Ryan. Cox had used a stun gun against Ryan and threatened to kill him. Ryan had just finished a supervised visit with his 4-year-old daughter, Tylee Ryan. Ryan injured his back and sprained his wrist in the fall, and Cox spent 90 days in jail. August through October of 08, Alex sends a friend a letter asking her to send him Joseph Ryan's picture, address, and license plate number in jail, stating once that it would be popular in here and some of the guys would like to hang out with him. What is that all about? Alex sent a friend a letter asking her to send him Joseph Ryan's picture, address, and license plate. Do you know who this friend was?
Sorry, say that one thing again. I was reading
Alex
statements Andy's making in the chat. Oh my God.
Don't read chat. He sent a friend. Alex was in jail in 08 and sent a friend a letter asking her to send him Joseph Ryan's picture, address, and license plate number.
Yeah, was it a friend or Lori? But yeah, he definitely did. He was trying to get that info so that he could give it out to his buddies in jail when they got out to go and take care of it.
Unbelievable.
And then Lori's friend April that lives in Hawaii, the one that when Lori disappeared.
Yeah.
She was in Hawaii staying with April. She had told April that Alex had tried to kill Joe before he had died. I think this is she'd gone to Hawaii a couple times, so
Oh,
never remember. But
Annie said it was his friend Mary Elizabeth who went on Dateline. That's who he sent the letter to.
Oh, that's who he sent the letter to. But Lori had talked to April and had told her that Alex had tried to kill Joe.
And he only did 90 days for that?
Yeah. So you go and you hear all of these stories, and then you hear Dateline, and they make it sound like there were no conversations, there were no phone calls to the police, anything, until Kay made her post on Facebook that started making the rounds and made its way to Justin Lum, and Justin
Picked up on it, yeah.
had called and gotten some info and was like, yeah, I got to take care of this. And then it got to Nate Eaton and all that. But I had talked to April, and April said that she had personally called, she called the FBI, she'd called Chandler PD, and she had told them about Lori and what Lori was saying, what she had told them about Alex trying to kill Joe. And this was before Charles was killed. And that Lori was talking about zombies and her kids. And both Chandler PD and the FBI were like, no, this is crazy. This isn't real. And just blew her off.
Sorry, go ahead.
She said that she wasn't the only one that called either. And I said, I said, okay, well, who else did call? And she said, well, that's not my story to tell, but I can say that other people did call in.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what bothers me is that if they had looked at any of these, because, these court documents that came out from 07, 06, 07 with Charles, obviously there was CPS involved in these children's lives, or in Tylee's life, for a long time because of Lori's craziness, and it's documented.
There were cameras in the house. When we found out why the cameras weren't because of Lori being crazy, we found out why the cameras were there, but still there were cameras in the house.
Yeah, and we don't know what was true or not true in those documents, honestly, because who knows what in the hell? She was lying about all kinds of stuff then.
But it's just weird because, like, Cheryl had come out and Cheryl had talked to...
Cheryl is Charles's ex-wife, right?
Yeah, Cheryl's Charles' ex-wife. And she had come out and she had said some nice things about Charles and this and that. And no accusations were made. Nothing shady was talked about. And then these documents come out, and it was Cheryl that had called and reported it and brought it to their attention. And it was just like, how the hell do you... It's just like another one of those things where they were only telling the side of the story that would get Lori in trouble. Like, they thought that none of this other stuff would get out, and
right,
the bad stuff about their side, even though it was a factor and played into all of it, it would never be talked about. No one would ever hear about it. And then now it's coming out, and it kind of just takes credibility away from people and what they've been saying. And it's frustrating because, for the last however many months people have been trusting people that have been saying something.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Lori's mother and sister, who said that she would never hurt her children, knew damn well this history. You knew this history?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable. poor Tylee has been in the system since she was, what, 4? About 4 years old. And, you know, honestly, I mean, if you think about it, the system failed her at the end of the day.
The system failed
Tylee.
JJ
And Tylee,
as
yeah.
well. And I just don't understand the adoption process. That's one thing that we've had a couple group members looking into the adoption process and how so easily JJ was just kind of handed off to Charles and Lori.
Yeah, it makes me sad, actually, that he was passed around like that. The poor little guy, you know? He might have been a little, you know, needed extra care and extra attention, but poor little guy was just, you know, passed around and ultimately ends up like this. And it's heartbreaking to me to think about. He didn't stand a chance.
No, and there were some family members that came out and had said they had talked about the adoption process, and they said it was shady. They were paid off. Like, someone needs to look into this. And then a family member would be like, "Oh, that's just a crazy person talking about. They were on drugs. Don't believe anything they have to say." And then court documents come out later, and it's like, oh, so because they're on drugs, we're not supposed to believe them, but everything they said's just right here in the paperwork.
Can we talk a little bit about JJ's biological parents? Because I'll be honest, I don't know much about that whole situation or them. So the biological parents of JJ are who?
Kay's son.
Okay, so it's Kay's son, and he had a baby. Is he together with the girl?
I don't know if I don't think they're still together. They haven't made any statements together.
Were they young, or like what was the situation?
Sorry, that was just a loud firework.
I heard that.
I'm trying to think. The bio mom came in, and she had dropped a ton of info, but there were kind of like, there were no periods or commas, and it was just like one long ass rant. So obviously it looked kind of crazy. And then Kay was like, had her friends talk about it, be like, "Oh, she's crazy. She's on drugs. Don't believe anything she has to say. It's all a lie." So that's why that kind of was blown off way back in the beginning. But a lot of what she said came out in court documents recently.
Like,
so just about how JJ was just handed off, and there should have been more like rules and regulations that were followed. And it was just like things were just kind of skipped, and he was just handed over like, "Oh, their family, doesn't matter."
Yeah, because it's usually a process, you know. Like Annie said she adopted, and it was quite the process to go through.
Yeah, and this was just kind of like, "Oh, parents are on drugs." There's some other
family wants to take them in, blah blah blah. Here you go.
Yeah, and there's been some other things that family members have talked about, and it's kind of been like family member hearsay, and then other family members argue against it. So, but that's like the whole Kay kind of had, you know, from the beginning, her name was all over everything as the person that reported it, the person that was in charge of the whole getting everything moving. And so her word was kind of taken as truth.
Gotcha.
The whole thing, no one questioned it. If you questioned it, you got your ass ripped apart. So unless it was a private conversation, it just caused a giant shitstorm to even try to have the conversation. with other people. So, but
So
it's still hearsay.
hearsay, yeah.
So it's not even worth talking about right here. But you can go into the group and you can look it up and you can see the mom's rant about everything and talking about Kay and her relationship with, basically saying meddling in relationships and kind of getting her way, making sure that things happened so that she got her way.
And you're
And
talking
that's
about Kay, the biological grandmother
grandma.
/ aunt.
Yeah.
All right, so where were we? Okay. So we were talking about Joseph Ryan and Alex being in jail. Now we're on to Lori. Okay, so Lori's third husband, Joseph, is found dead in his apartment in Gilbert, Arizona. Autopsy lists heart attack as cause of death. So that was in April of 2018. In May of 2018, Lori Vallow expressed fear about the end times during my visit to their home, saying that sometimes she thinks it would be better to put her kids in the car and go over the side of a cliff. That was in May of 2018. Fall of 2018, according to Dateline's What Happened to the Children episode, Lori Vallow and Melanie Boudreau attend a Preparing a People conference where they both meet Chad Daybell for the first time. It was reported that Lori talked with Chad afterwards, and soon she was contributing to the End of Days podcast. So that
People, I am talking about Kay Woodcock. When I'm saying Kay, I'm talking about Kay Woodcock. I'm not talking about some other Kay.
Did you see
I
what
don't know who's-
Did you see what Prepper said?
Yeah, trying to say that I'm lying.
No, he said every kiss begins with K.
Oh God. Goofball.
Oh, I can't with him. Okay. So where were we? Okay, so Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell supposedly meet, according to an anonymous email that was allegedly from a close friend of Chad. Alternative theory, Melanie Gibbs claimed in her interview with Nate Eaton of EastIdahoNews.com that Lori and Chad met 10/26/18 at Preparing a People event in St. George. Note, when I came across this Reddit post in February, I dismissed it as fiction due to its references to things like zombies. Now, after reading Ian Pulowski's stunning document of revelations he shared with law enforcement, but accidentally left on a laptop he gave his son, I found the document to be credible, especially because there are details in this post that weren't released to the public until after its published date. Now I am of the opinion that a source very close to Chad indeed wrote this email. So they supposedly met in 18, but we have someone who's saying they met like 10 years prior to that.
8.
Or 8 years prior to that.
Someone who's been a part of the Preparing a People, and he has like his own story of involvement where he's saying that he's related to a famous Mormon, and he's one I kind of talked about before, how he had artifacts that Chris Parrott and other guys tried to strong arm him and say they did all this stuff to get him on the flyer, saying he's going to speak, and pumped it up. And then when it got close, they're like, all right, you need to hand over the artifacts or you can't talk. And he's like, well, they're not yours, they're mine. And basically it was pretty shady. Like, sounded like they were trying to steal them from him. But he was like, you can't get to them unless you have money for this equipment. And it's so weird.
Telling me.
Yeah.
Annie
But
said she doesn't believe they met 8 years ago. I don't believe Lori would have adopted JJ. He needs to front load his story with evidence.
Dan needs to front load his story with evidence.
Yes.
Dan said he has evidence.
That's
Now,
what
I'm
she's
not
saying. He needs to show it, is what she's saying.
And Dan has the Dropbox, and he said that he's going to be dropping in 200 photos and videos
Yeah.
of evidence of these guys at this camp out in 2017, plus going back 8 years when they met. Doesn't mean the affair started back then, but
It means they knew who each other was back then, and they were...
Yeah, they knew. Lori knew who Chad was, and Chad knew who Lori was.
As of right now, the Dropbox stands empty, I believe.
Yep. All right, Melissa, is there anything in the Dropbox?
I think the Dropbox is empty, but she'll let us know.
He said he had a family emergency, so give him a couple days to sort that out.
Everybody wants to know who Dan is.
He's one of the Preparing a People speakers. He's on all the flyers. He's just another guy that has, whatever visions or something to bring to the table for the Preparing a People group that he's obviously looked at as important enough to get up there and speak on it, and people want to go there just to hear him speak. So he's not just some guy in the crowd.
Oh yeah, Shelley said Lori and Chad met years ago. They were married before in another life, remember?
Oh yeah, well that too, but Dan's saying in real life.
All right, so then we have them meeting at Preparing a People in St. George, Utah on October 26, 2018. And then October 2018, Chad starts emailing Lori. October 30th, Chad emails Lori a bizarre breakdown, of the light and dark ratings of her family member. Kylie is rated a 4.1D, only to be eclipsed by her father, Joseph Ryan, who weighed in at a 4.3D and was marked as sealed away. So yeah, the documents came out, or the email came out where Chad had rated all these family members, and Tylee was a dark 4.1 dark, a dark spirit, and so was her dad. But then JJ was a light spirit.
This was when there was the whole custody battle with Joe, and Tylee was a teenager, and she and Lori were kind of battling. So if you want to believe in coincidences, you can, but Chad basically just listened to Lori and would see who she liked, didn't like, who she was having trouble with, who was going to be a problem for their future plans, and that's how he came up with his rating system.
So he was just trying to schmooze her.
Yeah, he was just appeasing her, validating what she had to say, pumping her up, making her feel better.
Okay, that makes sense, though. I mean, I never looked at it from that perspective, actually. Melanie Gibb and Lori Vallow introduced their podcast in December. Oh, wait, I skipped this. In November 16th and 17th of 2018, Chad spoke at a Preparing a People event in Mesa, Arizona, and he stayed with Charles and Lori Vallow.
Yeah.
Stayed at their house?
who was it? Was it Melanie that gave the breakdown, kind of like what room was Chad's and what room was Lori's, and that they knew that those two were coming back out of their rooms at night and getting together. And it wasn't a secret, like they didn't do it out in front of everyone at the time, but people knew what was going on. Yeah.
Okay, so Chad comes and stays at their house, and then in December, Melanie and Lori introduced their new podcast, Time to Warrior Up. This is reportedly the first podcast Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow do together. There is a description of that. I'm not going to read that. Hold on one second, okay? I'll be right back.
Yep.
All right, sorry about that. But moving forward to January 2019, JJ Vallow's autism medication is filled for the last time, according to court documents obtained by East Idaho News in February 2020. The affidavit of probable cause also states that the bottle still had 17 pills in it and his prescription had not been filled in. During the search of Lori's apartment, police found an autism medication prescribed to JJ. It was filled in January 2019 and still had pills in the bottle, according to documents. Police verified that the prescription has not been filled in Idaho, and that is a direct quote from the affidavit. Also, Garna Maja from KSL TV interviewed Vallow's former neighbors in Rexburg, and they reported that JJ was easily angered, out of control, and playing outside unsupervised. You can hear him in a neighbor's Ring camera telling another boy to get the hell out of here. According to neighbors, Lori never told them JJ was autistic. And when confronted about JJ's behavior and lack of supervision, she told two different neighbors that JJ was her niece's drug baby. If accurate, this means Lori Vallow stopped giving her autistic son his required medication up to 8 months before he went missing. You'll see in the second of 3 entries for 1/30/19, Lori allegedly took JJ's medication when she disappeared. It's possible that she kept that bottle that she took. Charles had JJ's script refilled when he got him back, and they found this partially used bottle he had been holding on to and not giving JJ since January. And then on the 1st of 2019, we're going backwards. Okay, I'm confused for a second. Lori,
going back to Lori and how she spoke of her kids and how she kind of treated them. They're saying Lori's friend April said that Tylee was purposely sent off to a camp so that she would miss the beginning of Colby's wedding when they were taking the wedding photos, so that she didn't have to be seen in the photos because of her weight.
I always felt like Lori was body shaming her. I don't know. I got that feeling in those videos.
Yeah.
Bitch. So in January of 2019, Lori and Charles Vallow moved to Gilbert. 1/22/19, Lori receives an email from Chad. The subject of the email is Demon with a name, Nick Schneider. Chad told Lori that's who took over Charles's body. Charles texted a friend that this evil spirit had murdered him and was using him to violate her and her family. Okay, so Nick Schneider is who she ends up saying Charles is.
Yeah, that was like his zombie.
Like the demon that took him over?
Yeah.
All right. So then later that month on the 28th, Lori allegedly transfers $10,000 from Charles Vallow's business account into their personal account before moving the money into an unknown account. She also transferred 2,000 of Charles Vallow's enterprise points to a personal account, although Charles wouldn't discover the transfer until approximately February 6, 2009. Then the next day, on the 29th of 2018, Lori Vallow allegedly transfers an additional 25,000 from the business account to the joint account, then from the joint account to the same unknown account at Compass Bank, leaving the account at less than 1,000. According to a petition for an order of protection filed by Charles against Lori, Lori made several disturbing statements and threats to him. These include that she was a god, she was assigned to carry out the work of the 144,000 at Christ's second coming in July 2020, and that she would have to murder him if he got in her way and tried to stop him.
Cheryl is asking if it's Nick Schneider or Ned Schneider, and I think it was Melanie Gibb on Dateline. If you had the captions on, they had put Ned Snyder, but all the other documents say it's Nick Schneider. And then back in the beginning, if you were to go and like search for Lori using one of her, 5 different names she went by, one of the Facebook accounts, how there's like a different, you can customize your URL. One of them was Nick Schneider, like Facebook.Nick Schneider 687, something like that.
Huh.
So I don't think it's Ned. Pretty positive it's Nick.
According to a petition for an order of protection filed by Charles Vallow against Lori Vallow, Lori made several disturbing statements and threats in a phone call. She said she didn't trust him. She would need to kill him when he got home. She would have an angel there to help dispose of his body. She knew his real name was Nick Schneider. Allegedly, when Charles asked Lori who Nick Schneider was, she replied, "Nick is your real name." Lori said, according to documents, Nick killed Charles and has taken his identity. And she also said that he'd have to go painfully. She also threatened to destroy him financially, according to court documents filed by Charles. Here, Annie talks about Lori Vallow's friend April Raymond, who Vallow stayed with during part of the 58 days she went missing, also claimed in an interview on Dateline's Where Are the Children that Lori said Charles was dead and had a demon living inside of him. According to Raymond, she later changed her story and said he was alive, but that any day Vallow was going to get a call that he was dead. And then the 30th of January of 2019, Lori Vallow allegedly cancels Charles Vallow's flight home, which he found out when he arrived at the airport in Houston, Texas. Charles was forced to buy a $600 last-minute ticket to Phoenix. After his plane landed, Charles walked out to the airport parking lot where he had left his truck, yet he couldn't find it anywhere. Lori had used her spare key to remove the truck. He came home to a house that had been emptied. Charles also claimed that it took Lori 3 days to disclose where she'd left the truck. Charles was forced to rent a vehicle during that time. She also wiped out his business account. She hid his truck. She hid his clothes and computer. Even his underwear. She did this
She had help.
I wonder who her help was. She did
Melanie
this.
Gibb.
She did this. Really?
Yeah.
She did this right
Annie's
before
got a whole. I was gonna say Annie has a whole timeline breakdown of the dates and everything, and she had interviews transcribed, and it breaks down Melanie's statements, and she can't keep her story straight, and she pretty much says that she was with Lori at the time that this all had happened. So she would have been the one that went and picked up the truck with Lori.
Huh. She did this right before payroll was due, leaving him vulnerable to lawsuits. She victimized every employee in Charles' company with this theft. She took her disabled son's meds, his iPad, and his service dog's collar. She changed the locks on the house, and then she went MIA and didn't tell Charles where she was. Then she disappears to an unknown location, according to then husband Charles VALLOW. He was allegedly gone for 58 days. We know that at least part of that time was spent in Hawaii with Tylee, as well as with her brother Alex Cox. Then she is compelled to report to the Gilbert police in regard to a harassment call for service submitted by Charles VALLOW. Police are also informed about a petition for an involuntary hold at community bridges. Police say Lori would be allowed to go to the facility willingly to talk to staff. If she did not, she would be taken involuntarily. Complicating matters, Charles had taken Lori's purse out of her car when she went into JJ's school and refused to return it. Only after police informed him that he needed to bring the purse and petition to the station or face theft charges did he say that he found it in the parking lot. The document states Charles had many excuses as why he did not give it back to her. And then correction, the Gilbert Police Department handled this interview, not Chan. April 8, East Idaho News released the body cam of the interview with Gilbert Police and Lori VALLOW and Tylee. Charles VALLOW files for petition in February of 19 for an order of protection against Lori. Lori was never served the document because process servers were unsuccessful in locating her. On 2/5 of 19, JJ is absent from school at Life Academy in Gilbert, Arizona. That same day, Charles VALLOW is threatened with legal action because of not being able to meet payroll due to the $35,000 Lori withdrew from the business account. According to the divorced petition, Charles owes $22,500 in commission to a few contracted representatives. On the 6th of February, approximate date, Charles VALLOW realizes Lori VALLOW transferred 2,000 rent-a-car points out of their joint account. Charles also finds out Lori had called JJ's school to ask if he was in class. He was worried she may be planning to use the rental car points to potentially leave the state and take JJ with her. On the 8th of February 2019, Charles files for divorce from Lori. On that same day, Charles removes Lori as the sole beneficiary from his life insurance policy upon the advice of his attorney, Taylor Lawson. That was some damn good advice.
Yeah.
And then moving forward to 10/19, Lori flew with Tylee to Hawaii. According to then husband Charles VALLOW, she was allegedly gone for 58 days. Charles visits Life Academy on the 11th of February and met with school officials and made a handful of claims, such as Lori had gone crazy, she was hearing religious voices, she had disappeared to an unknown location, and that he had a PPO against her, and he was pulling JJ out of school and taking him out of state until he's safe. And then on the 15th, Charles filed a document asking for temporary custody of JJ, exclusive use of the house and vehicle, return of the stolen money, and return of his and JJ's personal items. Lori was never served, even though Lori's car was seen in Alex's driveway when a server tried to serve her there. She was reportedly living with her brother, Alex Cox, at the time. On the 16th of February, 19, Preparing a People holds a one-day conference in Boise, Idaho. Chad Daybell is one of the speakers. It appears Charles believed Lori was going to attend this event, which led to an attempt by process servers to serve Lori with papers at the airport. On February, or this was in February of 2019 as well, Lori, upon landing in Kauai with Tylee, called her friend April Raymond to tell her she was leaving Charles and asked if she could stay with her. Chad Daybell writes a foreword for colleague and friend Melanie Gibb's book, Feel the Fire. Have you read that book?
No, but
Do we know what it's
kind of
about? What's it about?
there. Let's see, who was it that someone in the group did? They basically said the same thing. It's like reading one of Chad's books. I think they said it's like 100 pages, something like that, and it's just trash. And of course, published by.
Preparing a People. All right. Mid-February of 2019, the Daily Mail reported in January that Lori and Alex Cox had a knockdown, drag-out fight in the middle of the street while she was living with him around a year ago. The fight between VALLOW and Cox was reportedly so bad that neighbors were close to calling the police on the warring siblings. Neighbor Donnie Self told the Daily Mail she was screaming at him and accused him of bringing disgrace on their family. After it was over, VALLOW left the house she had been sharing with her brother and never came back. Got anything to say about the fight with Alex and Lori?
Where she was ashamed of him. Like there were talks before that it could have been about Alex's trips down to Colombia, and that someone was possibly going to out him for going down there and getting transvestite hookers. And yeah, that was one of the things. Or that he would just be outed for someone that had evidence, like something had come out or he'd been caught by someone, and people were going to start talking about that he was gay, and that was like, for some reason, to Lori and the family, that was just too much. Like that was
like the
line.
ultimate no.
Yeah.
But what's this about transvestite hookers? What I need to know more about that.
That's just been information that's been coming out, that Alex had been doing his job, and he'd save up money each year and take a trip down to Colombia and just go and blow all his money on hookers. And someone had said that specifically his taste was for, what did we figure it out, that it was male to female?
I don't
Male
know.
to female? No, I'm not asking. I'm just kind of like saying out loud. It was because there's like codes, like I think it was like FTM or
female
MTF.
to, because they're like a female that's dressed up like a male.
Yeah. And
so what was his?
There's slang, and then there's like the PC way to say it, and then there's just what people that are clueless say. So there was discussions on what it could have possibly been, and I'm trying to think who it was, because this goes back to where we had talked before, where his mission companion caught Alex a couple times doing something that was so disturbing and disgusting that he had to call home on his mission and talk to his mom.
I remember you saying that now.
Yeah, and I don't know if he was like, get me out of here, I want to be done, and the mom had to like convince him into staying. But we know who the mission companion is, and he doesn't want to give any more details.
JB.
So that could have been it. And then there's the whole his comedy, his stand-up comedy that he had taped, and he was making jokes, and it sounded like he was kind of outing himself, talking about being gay, making jokes about being gay.
Yeah.
But it was like it came out like it was a joke, and it wasn't anything. But if you knew him, then it didn't sound like a joke at all. So like when people first heard it, I think it was first played like back in December in the group, like someone had shared it because this stuff was up on YouTube, and someone had shared it, and it was just kind of like, oh yeah, Alex is funny because he also does impersonations. So there was a video of him like impersonating like Donald Duck and all this other stuff, but that was before he was known as like Alex the murderer. So
Where was his stand-up comedy done at? Like people paid to see him for real?
well, they might have been paying to see someone else, and he was just the guy
Like the
trying
opener?
the hype man, yeah.
Weird.
But I mean, family saying you're funny is one thing. People that you're not family and friends with saying you're funny is another thing. And family thought he was hilarious, so
I'm sure they did.
they also thought Lori was innocent. So
They all have their heads in the sand.
yeah,
All right, so we're back to February of 19. Charles and JJ return to Life Academy. Lori is still reported to be MIA. The staff at Life Academy make a report to CPS regarding JJ because Lori had still not been located. And then on March 1st of 19, Charles VALLOW files to dismiss the divorce proceedings. So he decides to ultimately try to work this out.
basically, what April said is that like Charles really loved Lori, like he like deeply loved her throughout all of this. Like he thought that there was a way to get her help, and that he could get her through this, and this was just something that they were gonna work to get through at the time. But it was one-sided. Charles was the only person even giving a shit, let alone trying to fix anything. Lori was doing her own thing, had her own agenda. I don't know. It's sad.
Why did they move suddenly? So he decided to dismiss the divorce, and then he took JJ out of school in Arizona and moved to Houston.
I don't know. Charles, they moved a bunch of times, and there were times where Charles was called a con man, and people were saying he was a con man and he didn't pay his employees and all that. But then later the stuff came out about Lori stealing the money, so Charles couldn't pay the employees. So, but I don't understand if like Charles really was, I don't know. There's new documents and stuff out about Charles too. So like there still hasn't been a lot of time to process that after being told one thing for this many months. And then
I agree.
All of a sudden finding out Charles might have been someone else, but they might have been false accusations.
Yeah, we don't know, but it's just more
but there's
crazy.
Just some weird,
yeah.
And it's not just Charles. Like there was stuff involving kids, and it's old stuff, like stuff over 10 years old. So it's just like stuff just keeps coming out, and this last bunch of information, what was the name of their group? Like the WTF moments, something. I don't know. They used to be called RMT, Real Massacre Talk.
And
now they're they archived all their stuff and then like re-popped up as someone else. But they released a bunch of documents that have been going around, but they haven't been releasing them in order. Like they've just been did something, started on Twitter, and then they stopped on Twitter and moved over to Patreon,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing stuff on Facebook. So it's like,
It's all over the place. Yeah, I was sent
Yeah.
some of that stuff. I didn't know that they had actually bought those documents. I didn't even know
they
who.
said that they paid a lot of money, but then someone else did the research and looked it up, and it was like $14 or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know anything
Just-
about it. I know they had ended up in my inbox on a Google Drive, and I shared those, and I didn't want to put them in my group like publicly just because of what it contained, like with Colby and everything.
Yeah.
So I put it in my Patreon, which is only like it's $1, you know. So it wasn't like I was trying to get rich off of it or anything. But apparently they were upset about that because they had paid for them. I wasn't aware though.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, there's some disturbing things in there, and I agree with you. It's going to take a minute to process all that stuff, and who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows if it's even true? And Annie did say that Freedom of Information Acting docs is very expensive. So
You can also like go in and, I know like the state of California, they want to charge you an arm and a leg and your firstborn for paperwork, but they'll allow you to go in and take pictures of it, and then if you have the app on your phone, it'll turn it into a PDF, and then you can turn each section. The files weren't like crazy good quality where it seemed like it was straight off the computer or anything, so
right,
you don't know exactly how they
obtained.
got them, and knowing who they were. Changing the name of your Facebook doesn't change what you did before, so we know them, what they'd said before, so not really trustworthy. Can't really believe what they say.
Tell me how you really feel.
Well, I thought I'm being pretty polite right now.
No, you really are. You're holding it together very well. Are you getting tired? Do we need to do this in 2 parts?
No, I'm good. Well, I think this is part 3.
Well, I know, but like this actual timeline, like we're only in March of 19.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm on vacation. I'm in a recliner in a cabin. I'm chilling.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you have internet connection. That's awesome.
I know. It's still not anything crazy good.
Well, we can hear you at least.
Yeah.
All right. So in March of 19, right after they moved to Texas, Charles exchanges text messages with a friend, and the friend passed them on to a producer with Dateline. Charles said, "I truly feel there is no good ending for her. Emotionally, JJ is about 4. He will remember bits and pieces, but thankfully not the pain she's put a lot of people through from her mission from God." The friend says, "Charles, I appreciate you trusting me with your heart's issue. You are safe here. I will continue to pray for you and your family. You have a friend here that you can truly trust. I have to go now, and we'll keep you updated. Sleep well, my friend. Go with God." And then Charles sent hearts. And then the friend says, "I still can't believe it." He says, 58 days. Charles says, "Believe it. The beautiful, sweet Lori you and I knew is gone. She actually believes I'm not Charles. She says an evil spirit named Nick Schneider murdered me and is using me to violate her and her family. Not kidding. Gotta get out of here. Friend, holy camel. I can't even relate. Who the fake is Nick Schneider? The last time I saw Lori, she couldn't say enough wonderful things about ... And then Charles says, "Things have changed so dramatically in the past 6 months. Something snapped. It is so unbelievable and scary. I'm thankful she doesn't see JJ. She wants him and me to disappear. Seriously, it's the freakiest thing I've ever experienced. She's with a group of people called Woke and Preparing a People. She actually believes I'm not Charles. She says an evil spirit named Nick Schneider murdered me and is using me to violate her. On 3/29 of 19, she returned home. On 4/9/19, Chad Daybell's friend and Doomsday podcaster Julie Rowe is told she would be excommunicated from the Church of Latter-day Saints based on the charges of 1, apostasy, 2, teaching false doctrine, 3, priestcraft, and 4, defaming the good name of the church. She and her husband have appealed the decision but expect it to be denied. On May 31st of 19, Chad Daybell cancels a speaking gig at a Preparing a People conference due to a family emergency. The announcement says David Warwick and Sean Littlebear will be filling in for Chad Daybell, who had a family emergency. We regret he won't be able to attend this PAP. June.
Little Bear.
What? Little Bear. What was the family emergency? What was going on?
With Dan? What was Dan's family emergency?
No, what? Not Dan. No, Chad. Chad canceled an event due to a family emergency back in May of 19.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
And then
I was just thinking about Little Bear. Little Bear's associated with Dan Judd.
Sean Littlebear?
Yeah.
Well, aren't these all these people like somehow associated with one another?
Yeah. Little Bear, I think he's in like the Midwest, and he has like some type of like closely related LDS artifacts somewhere in a cave, and it's like his version of Angel Moroni's warrior outfit or something like that, and he needs like $250,000 so that he can go and get it.
What?
Yeah. And then he and Dan Judd, like, because Dan Judd has like the missing 116 pages from the Book of Lehi, and he had sent those into some appraiser or some LDS historian in New York to get them validated. Hasn't gotten them back either. They all have some sort of like weird love triangle with the church and building tents out in the middle of nowhere.
Very
in Lori
bizarre.
VALLOW.
Very bizarre.
It's weird.
Let's see. All right, so in June of 19, Melanie Boudreau asked husband Brandon Boudreau for a divorce. Brandon said, I thought I had a happy marriage, so it was pretty overwhelming. So he wasn't expecting this. Melanie says, I want a divorce. 6/20/19, Lori VALLOW moves into her rental home in Chandler, Arizona. 6/29/19, Charles VALLOW sends email to Lori VALLOW's brother Adam Cox to say he's suspicious of Lori and Chad's relationship and plans to reach out to Tammy about his concerns. Now that I did not know. That's not something I knew. So Adam, what did Adam do?
Adam,
Did he do anything about this or no?
about how he was communicating with
Are you with me, Carl?
Charles.
Are you with me, Carl? Yeah, when he emailed Charles, or he emailed Adam, Charles did, he said, I'm not sure of the relationship with her and Chad Daybell, but they are up to something. She will not explain it. I'm going to send it to Chad Daybell's wife. Her name is Tammy, and I found her email address on their website, too. I've got her cell number, too.
We don't know. I wonder if Zach would tell us if something happened.
Like,
if
what
there
did
was an answer to that.
yeah, like what did Adam do with that information? Did he talk to Lori? Did he?
He might. I mean, if they did get a hold of Tammy, you'd think that Zach would have to, even if the email was sent to Tammy, you would think that Zach would at least know, because Adam would be talking about it. Adam's wife was in the group the other day because Zach's girlfriend is trolling Annie, and she was in the group trolling Annie, and then she got offended and shut her Facebook down, but now she's on Twitter, allegedly on Twitter, doing stuff. And so the mom came on and was like, just block her. She's causing drama. Ignore her. But I wonder, Nicole would definitely know. Nicole might answer. Andrea's sick, or I'd say see if Andrea would shoot her a message real quick. We could probably have an answer
Yeah, I mean, I
here
never.
in a minute.
That's something I did not know, that he notified her brother. Huh.
Yeah.
So that was at the end of June, and then late June, here she comes back to Life Academy. There's Lori. The family's back, and she enrolled JJ in the summer program at school. So this school must have been like, what the, they've got Charles coming in, making all these claims about Lori, then they move away, and now they're back. I mean, all these people knew there was some craziness going on with this family. There was a lot of people that knew.
Schools deal with a lot of stuff. It's not like there's just one crazy family at each school, Who knows? God knows however many other families have bullshit going on. So
True.
they might not have been like crazy focused in on it. And I don't know. You hear someone believes in zombies and stuff like that, and you're never. Are you going to call the cops on someone and say, "Hey, that's my neighbor believes in zombies"?
I know, right? It's
like, yeah, I don't know.
There wasn't really much anybody could really do. I mean, I know how the system works. There's nothing they can really do until something happens. And really she disappeared. But other than that, I mean, all these claims about zombies and shit, these people are like, what? What are they going to do? Call CPS and say this mom thinks that kids could be zombies?
Yeah, and then Tylee, there was all this talk about her graduating early, and then her being pulled out and just getting her GED, and then enrolling at BYU, Idaho. There's just so many crazy stories. Like, it just doesn't stop. I don't understand how they didn't keep their lives straight, for one, but
through
I just
all
don't understand how they could.
Through all of this, Lori maintains this composure of being a good mother. Like, her friends think that she's like this good mom. And I bet the school thought that, I bet she had everybody snowed. That's how
if someone's polite, if someone can be polite to people, like, it doesn't matter what they do behind closed doors, because you only talk to so many people behind closed doors. But out in public, you can put on this show, basically what people do on Facebook, only take happy photos, but they don't put all the drama that goes on behind the scenes onto their Facebook account. So you could have hundreds of people thinking that you're some superstar, but 15 people know the truth and you're a piece of shit. So
Annie said Lori is extremely charming and bubbly. I mean, we could kind of see that when she talked to the police. She was flirty. But she was very nonchalant about her husband's death. When Charles was killed, she was laughing and smiling, and her behavior was very odd.
Yeah, that was like way too far beyond friendly and bubbly. That was suspicious as hell. But,
I agree.
Melanie's friends, they said that Melanie was extremely outgoing, warm, friendly, bubbly, and that she put on this great show that you didn't know was a show unless you got really, really close to her, and it was all a lie, and that she is an amazing liar, and she can make anyone believe anything. But as soon as she got on camera, she couldn't lie worth shit. Like, she couldn't hold her own. Something about being in front of the camera got her jimmies rustled or something, because when she was in front of the camera, it was like, oh my God, you are so bad. It's like a Summer, she kind of seems to have the same attitude. Janice, you don't really know what kind of poker face she has because her face is frozen.
Oh my God.
But Summer,
And he's
you know,
talking
you would think
about
that,
her mom and sister.
yeah, call her Janice.
So 7/11 of 19, Charles, that's when Charles was shot by Alex.
Yeah.
The shooting occurred around 8:30 a.m. and Alex claimed self-defense. And he called 911. He was questioned by law enforcement outside the home, which was recorded on body cam. An officer goes into the home to look around and sees the body of deceased Charles Vallow. Lori Vallow and 17-year-old Tylee Ryan were interviewed outside the home. Alex and Tylee were all questioned with Lori at the police station. And Annie has transcripts of their interview on her website and also of Tylee's. Taxes has not been released as of February 9, 2020. There are reportedly contradictions in their stories, but no arrests are. And during that time, Alex was staying at the house where Charles Vallow was shot, despite living 23 miles away. Colby Ryan, Lori Vallow's adult son, later claims that his mother called him the day Charles died and said he died of a heart attack. When he got to the house, he discovers his stepdad had actually been shot by his uncle. Charles was scheduled to look at apartments with the landlord after dropping JJ off at school. Alex said Charles attacked him with a baseball bat, but only had trace amounts of blood on a napkin he dabs on the back of his head. Alex said Lori, Tylee, and JJ left before the shooting. Lori told police she had been at home when Charles was shot, but needed to leave to take JJ to school. Now, Tylee left before the shooting. Didn't Tylee supposedly get the baseball bat for Uncle Alex?
Yeah, the stories don't match up. Like, none of that even makes any sense. Like, it sounded like Tylee would have been there the whole time, and they rushed her out at the end and hurried and got in the car, waited for, Lori to leave, and then Alex called in. Like, their stories just didn't match up. And Alex did have like a little goose egg on his head, It wasn't like he wouldn't have lost consciousness or anything.
Annie said 16 minutes between the time of shooting and the Gilbert Police Department being dispatched. She believes that he stood there and waited for him to die.
Yeah, of course.
Awful. Okay, so...
Waited for him to die and probably hid evidence.
Yeah. 16 minutes is a long time after you shot somebody. A long-ass time. Lori was glib and playful when talking to the officer at the scene, and Dateline's Keith Morrison described Tylee's demeanor as somehow apologetic, but overly composed. Chandler Detective Nathan Moffat described Tylee as very well-spoken. He said Tylee told Detective Cassandra Yinclan, "In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have gotten the bat." Moffat noted that as weird, but then walked it back. Author's note, Moffat's tone seemed to suggest Tylee had possibly been coached in what to say. Moffat described the ride in the police car with Lori, Alex, and Tylee as straight up bizarre. He added it was the weirdest ride I've ever had with 3 strangers. He described Lori as happy-go-lucky, that she was smiling and nonchalant. You would have thought we just recovered their stolen vehicle. No one has come forward saying that Charles was given to rages or abusive behavior. Not his ex-wife, not Lori's adult son Colby, and not Lori or Charles' mutual friend April Raymond. I never saw Charles exhibit abusive behavior or rage, but I had far less exposure to Charles than the others referenced here.
And that was also at that time. That was before recently.
On 7/11 of 19, neighbors report that the family hosts a pool party at the house where Charles was shot the day of the shooting. They report there are lots of people and loud music. Then on the 12th, Lori Vallow texts her stepsons a little after 4:30, approximately 20 hours after Charles Vallow was shot, to tell them their father has died. She didn't tell them how he died, and one of the sons she answered, "We are still waiting for the medical examiner report." The son asks a series of questions trying to find out what happens. No response. 6:54 p.m. he asks again with building frustration and anger. 8:20 p.m. he texts again. Lori replies again. She is still waiting for the medical examiner. She does not tell them he was shot. Cheryl Wheeler, Charles Vallow's ex-wife and mother of his 2 grown sons, find out that Charles' death had been classified a homicide. She then searches Google for more information and discovers the news reports out of Chandler, Arizona, that Alex Cox had shot him. Lori Vallow attempts to file a claim on Charles Vallow's life insurance policy and discovers that she has been removed as sole beneficiary. Charles had made his sister Kay Woodcock beneficiary. Lori sends another text to Charles' son after a couple promptings in the late afternoon on the 13th, and it just says, "I'm still waiting, working on arrangements and sorting things out the best I can." Charles' son asks why she won't just tell them what happened. On the 14th, she leaves a voice message for one of Charles' grown sons inviting him to talk. And then on the 15th, one of Charles' adult sons texts Lori Vallow again, saying that it had been 3 days with still no answers about how their dad died. He wrote, "The only information we have is that one text from you saying he passed away. You disappeared after that. We need any information you have. What happened? When did it happen? How did it happen? Where is he now? Are there any funeral plans? And can someone and I be a part of it?" Must be his brother. He later asked why Colby and Tylee haven't contacted them at all and why Colby didn't answer his call. He ends the text with, "This isn't a nonchalant topic. You can just throw a text at and be done with." Then on the 16th, Ian Pulowski, future husband to Melanie Boudreau, divorces his wife. On the 22nd of July, that is when Lori tells an official at Life Academy that Charles Vallow committed suicide. Late July of 2019, Lori Vallow allegedly texts Charles Vallow's sister, Kay Woodcock, having just discovered that she had been removed as sole beneficiary from Charles Vallow's $1 million life insurance policy. Kay alleges she wrote something to the effect of 5 kids and no money, and his sister gets everything. Notable, at this time, Lori Vallow had 2 children living in the home, 1 adult son and 2 adult stepsons, whom she wasn't even really communicating with.
Right. They had their own mom taking care of them. Lori
Right.
wasn't
Right. She
trying
wouldn't
to
even
get money for them.
July.
But it doesn't say anything about any of that money going to Charles' other sons. It makes it sound like that 1 million was for JJ and JJ only. But I know that there was some other conversations about some of it going to the other kids, and that the statement was that that Charles didn't want any money going to Lori's kids. I think specifically Colby and Tylee. And that might have been an email from Charles to Kay, saying I don't want any of this money to go to Lori's kids.
And that was
But
from
Lori
who
was,
to Kay?
I think it was from Charles to Kay. Because
Oh.
Lori had also changed the password on the life insurance. And Charles had caught her. And so Charles wrote an email saying, if something happens to me, I didn't do this. This was my ex-wife. Do an investigation into this. Or this is my wife. Do an investigation into this and do audio, and you'll see that it's her. And then I didn't want any of this. And then I think it was, I want all the money to go to my sister Kate Woodcock, and the money's to go to JJ and not any of Lori's children.
Wow. Okay, so he didn't want Lori to take the money from them. Is that why? Or he just didn't?
Well, I don't think he wanted Lori to have the money, and I don't think he wanted Colby to get any money, thinking that he would keep it or Lori would take it from him.
Yeah.
For herself. And same with Tylee.
Now, Lori had been sending Colby money every month.
Yeah.
We see from Venmo, and then after the kids went missing, then the money started coming from Tylee's Venmo to Colby for a month or two. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were told that Lori told people that it was because Colby had a kid with autism. But relatives on the Cox side, saying that Colby's kid had a medical issue at one time, but there's nothing that's like a recurring medical issue. It was like a one-time thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Zach Cox, he has a lot of good things to say about Colby. And
now Zach is
Adam and Nicole's son.
Okay, so that is Lori's brother Adam. Zach is his grown son.
Yeah, and Nicole was in the group the other day commenting about Zach's girlfriend. And then there was an ex-friend of Melanie's. There was like a big battle the other day. People arguing over evidence and all that, and so that's why Nicole got involved. She normally is just like a silent bystander, just kind of sits back and watches. Doesn't really say anything, kind of sees how everything's going down. Let's see. Colby's daughter is meeting all of her developmental milestones and does not have special needs. You just nailed it, Carl. Yeah, okay. So, people get really pissed when you start talking about Colby and the money and why he didn't need to call any earlier because it was mom. He shouldn't have had to call. But I think that if Lori wasn't giving him money each month, multiple times a month, that he would have called a lot sooner. But he had that money on the line, so he's not going to call in and risk the kids being fine and there being no issue, and then Lori's going to be mad at him and pull that money away from him.
Right.
So I think that even though he wasn't being paid off to keep his mouth shut, he might not have been aware that.
In a way, he
Lori,
was. Yeah.
Right. But he he might not have been smart enough to know that he was being played.
Oh, I'm
Lori
sure he
knew
didn't.
that if
I'm
I
sure
do
he
this,
didn't.
I can, yeah.
I mean,
And
he
so
was just her
people,
son. I mean, he just thought, this is my mom. She's helping me. She loves me. But really, Lori
God,
knew what she was doing. She knew.
yeah. And people get so mad when you talk about it. Like, you're being mean to Colby. I'm like, no, I'm
It's not being mean
fucking
to
using common
Colby.
sense,
I
man.
mean,
Like, come on.
that's his mother. I mean,
If, yeah,
I'm
any one of us, it could have been any one of us with our crazy parent and
absolutely.
our crazy mom doing it to us. Like, you don't want to call your mom. And if you're on rough times and you have a new kid and you're just got married, you know,
Right.
money's, when you're young, it's hard to come by money. Money's not
It's
exactly
hard. It's
easy.
hard to raise a family.
Yeah, so if you have someone helping you out, and say there is nothing going on and you call the cops, you're pretty much turning on your own family.
Right. No one can
I
blame
mean,
him.
yeah, Tylee was family, so I could see why people be like, well, Tylee, but that was his mom too. Like, it's not an easy predicament, you know. It's not like
No.
choosing Chick-fil-A or McDonald's
It's
to
not
eat
like he
lunch,
had,
you know.
right, and he didn't have a dad to fall back on. You know, his
Oh
mom
yeah,
was like all he had. His mom and his
yeah.
siblings. I mean, really, it's really sad. No one blames him. But
And
back,
even then, that was creepy. The way his mom, the relationship between Lori and Colby was creepy.
yeah,
But I think that she purposely did it like that, and she had control over him. She used him.
I think she used everybody in her life.
Yeah,
Honestly,
that's true.
I really
Even her
do.
friends look back. Her good
Did
friends
she
look
really?
back, and
Right? Did she ever have friend? I mean, was she really even a friend? This lady was just, she's fake.
yeah, I don't know. It
It's
sounds like
crazy.
people were there for her, but you never really hear of someone saying,
Right.
I
Like
needed
Lori did
someone, I
this
didn't
for
have anyone,
me.
and Lori did this for me. I've never
Mhm.
heard a story like that. Nope.
No,
But you
no.
hear Lori, I'm running away from my family, need somewhere to hide, and April's like, okay, well, you can stay with me.
Well,
And then she starts hearing about all this crazy stuff.
I think because of Lori's personality, her looks, her personality, I think that people wanted to be friends with her. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
You know, all these women wanted to be friends with her. And, you know, it's easy to overlook things too. When someone shares the same beliefs as you and, you know, they want to be friends with her. Because, I mean, obviously, I mean, look at her. She attracts attention. She is well spoken, even though it's fake, but she can play the game. She played the game out with everybody in her life. She really did.
Yeah. There's a reason that Chad was kind of doing his thing with Julie Rowe, and as soon as Lori really came along, he dropped her like a sack of potatoes and moved on to Lori,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Oh, he wanted Lori on his arm, for sure. For sure.
Julie didn't have that personality about her that
Mm-mm.
people just kind of gravitate towards her at all. Like, if anything, they kind of like run and hide.
Well, Lori's pretty. You know, she's fit. She looks good. She's bubbly. She's probably personable. I mean, look at Chad.
She knew the right things to say, that's for sure. She knew
Mm-hmm.
exactly what to say that would get people interested and keep them interested. She knew how to play the game.
Which is crazy to me because when I first started following this case, I really thought that Chad had brainwashed her. But now everything that I've learned about her, it's like these people are all nuts.
I think Chad, people thought that maybe his followers were like 50 to 100 people, because of how everything is publicly, but people don't like come out and acknowledge that they have anything to do with Daybell at this point. Like everyone wants to hide. If their name hasn't been out there now, they're praying to God that nothing's going to get it out there at this point. If they just keep quiet, no one's going to out them. And but there's been people who are closely involved with a VALLOW and PAP, going to the conferences and know about Chad selling his books, and they think that Chad had between maybe 20 to 25,000 people that believed in him to the
Really?
point where they supported him. Now, not everyone knew about this crazy kid killing stuff, so they didn't support him like that, but they at least supported his ideology, and he was able to, regardless of what anyone tries to say, he used the church to get these people. He didn't do it any other way. Like, he wasn't in the car dealership poaching people looking for a fucking Honda, and sneak and grabbing them over. Like, let me talk to you about my church. Like, no, he was at the church and he had these ideas and he brought people over as a disguise to his house, thinking they were going to come over and talk about the church and whatnot, and then he would just slide in all his own stuff. He's a sleazeball. He's a con man. He's a sleazeball. But you think about like in person, and we've talked about the small groups of people that have gone over to his house, but he had the internet on the VALLOW network. People create it's like Reddit more than it is like Facebook. You create a username and no one knows who you are unless you specifically like tell them like, this is who you are, where you live, everything. I talked to plenty of people who could tell me screen names of people that have said like, I knew Chad, I did this and I did that. And I'm like, well, who was it? Like, I don't know. How do you find out who it is? You can ask them,
Right.
But if Parrott and Sosa, they knew who everyone was, but they're not going to tell anyone. So, and that was part of their whole thing, is that they knew who everyone was and they knew who was logging into whose account.
Weird.
Yeah, so God, it's like there's always just someone's name gets brought up for half a second and you can go
I know,
down
a rabbit hole. All right, let's go back to August 5th of 19. JJ starts the new school year at Life Academy.
Yeah.
And then on the 9th of August, Lori put JJ's service dog Bailey up for sale. And then here is the description. Bailey has such a sweet spirit. He has brought so much love to his home, but his owner recently died and he needs a new home. He is fully trained with certification as a service dog, up to date on vaccinations, has been trained with children in the home, non-smoking home. Bailey is sweet and friendly around other dogs, looking for new owners who will appreciate and love him the way he has been loved. Spent $7,000 on service training. He is a full-bred golden doodle, has experience on airplanes, has experience with people with autism. Then
I think the community was small, and that's how the owner, the trainer, was able to
got a hold of
find
that
out quick. Yeah.
Because she was told by the organization that she couldn't sell the dog. She would need to return him. And Bailey has since been placed with a new family of a boy with autism.
Yeah.
That's sad. So on the 10th of August, the last time Kay VALLOW Woodcock hears from JJ is via FaceTime. And it was about 35 seconds long. And then they will be edged out of JJ's life for a little more than 3 months, with multiple attempts to get a hold of them. Kay texts Lori to ask to see JJ on 8/10. We're not up to anything except to see our little boy, Kay says, and she never got a response. Then she sent another email begging to FaceTime and visit JJ on the 25th of August. And then on the 27th of August, that was the date that Lori Vallow's apartment was taken off the market. Melanie Boudreau's apartment was taken off the market 3 days before she actually signed the lease. So Lori may have signed the lease a few days later when she rolled into town. As of 4/5/20, the apartment still isn't on the market according to Zillow's record. Alex's was listed for rent the week after Lori, Chad, and Alex fled Rexburg, but Lori's is still open. On August 28th is the date that Alex Cox's apartment was taken off the market. 8:30, Lori Vallow stops by the workplace of Colby to tell him in the parking lot that she, Tylee, and JJ were moving the next day. So they had just moved back from Texas, and JJ's starting school, and now she's telling Colby we're moving again. Colby says he didn't ask where they were moving to.
Yeah.
So your mom says, "Hey, I'm moving," but you don't
Okay,
say
Mom.
you don't say where. Okay.
Hey, I'm moving. I'll make sure to Venmo you your money on time. All right, see ya.
So he didn't find out until that they moved to Rexburg, Idaho, until detectives came to his door November 27th, 2019, to inquire about the whereabouts of Tylee and JJ. On that same day, Colby Ryan told Gilbert police he last spoke with Tylee over FaceTime. He said after his mother gave him excuses as to why Tylee couldn't talk to him. So does this mean Colby had a FaceTime call with Tylee after saying goodbye to her in the parking lot of his workplace? And why FaceTime when they still lived near each other? Good question. Lori Vallow has JJ Vallow's service dog, Bailey, picked up by the dog training elite in Arizona. She asked the organization to find the Golden Doodle another family because she could no longer care for the pet due to a change in life circumstances. But she also said in the ad that his owner had died. So on 8/31, Lori moves with Tylee and JJ to Rexburg. Late August, Kay and Larry Woodcock called Life Academy to ask if JJ was okay. On 9/3, Lori enrolls JJ at Kennedy Elementary School in Rexburg. And then his first day was on 9/4. On 9/5, she emails Life Academy to say she needed to withdraw him. She allegedly told staff over the phone she accepted a position in California, which was not true, and that his father committed suicide, which was also not true. On 9/6, neighbors take a pic of Tylee and JJ with an unidentified child through their blinds. When asked why, they said it was because they thought it was strange that the children were using stuffed animals to play in a large puddle of water.
Yeah.
What?
I don't buy that crap. I don't buy that crap for one bit. You know, it was just nosy neighbors talking shit on other neighbors, sending Snapchats or
Like,
whatever.
oh, look at her kids. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy lady lets her kids play with stuffed animals in a pond.
Right.
There was something else going on there. Sorry, our neighbors do some weird shit, and I don't save their stuff
Yeah,
on my ring, you know.
there's definitely more to that. Well, no, this says this isn't even the ring. This is someone who took a picture through their blinds of the kids playing in a puddle.
Oh yeah, that was the first.
Yeah, so somebody actually looked out the window and was like, and took a picture.
Yeah, sent it to it wasn't a video. It wasn't a video.
I don't know this. It just says a picture.
Because I think, I don't know, because they make it sound like if you're on your ring or whatever, you can save
watch
something.
You can. But no, it doesn't
you delete
say.
it.
It says that they took a picture through their blinds.
Yeah, so the person they sent it to, it would still been saved in that conversation.
Correct.
So
this is
it'd be
the second.
interesting to see what the rest of their conversation said.
Right. If there
there has to be
even
backstory, right?
there should be, yeah. I mean,
Like that's the first ever check out my neighbor
yeah, they thought it was
picture video
strange
they
that the
sent.
children were using stuffed animals.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's more to it. And this is the second to last time Tylee is seen alive. The last time is 2 days later and on September 8th. And then on the 7th, Lori accesses JJ Vallow's app from his old school. On the 8th of September is the last day Tylee is seen alive at the entrance of Yellowstone National Park. Lori Vallow's neighbor on the 17th in Rexburg, Idaho, captures last known footage of JJ playing outside. So that's the ring. And then on the 18th, a nanny that Lori hired through care.com for what she thinks is long-term care comes to the house for the first time to babysit JJ. She tells the nanny her husband died of a heart attack in Arizona and that her daughter was going to school in Rexburg, which she wasn't. The nanny describes Tylee's presence in the home as intermittent visits. Occasionally, her daughter would come visit for dinner or to do laundry, but she never said she lived there with them. It appeared that only Lori and JJ lived there, from the look of things and what she told me. 9/18, Kay sends Lori another email begging to be able to call, FaceTime, and visit with JJ. On the 19th, the nanny that Lori hired returns for her second day of caring for JJ, and she notes several things from that day. That VALLOW joked that sometimes she gives JJ his meds early, so he'll go to sleep earlier to give her a break. Lori told her that her brother Alex is going to come over and they're going to the Idaho Falls airport. Cox came over, just said hello, and left with Lori. JJ went to play at a neighbor's house and came home for dinner. After dinner, he wanted to go back to the friend's house, but the nanny said no. JJ had a meltdown and threw furniture and told the nanny he hated her and didn't want to be her friend. Nanny went upstairs to find JJ and found him under Lori's bed. JJ's room only had toys, no bed. JJ slept on a small mattress in the corner of Lori's room. Lori, Alex, and Lori's friend came home. Lori babied JJ to comfort him. Lori told the nanny the woman did podcasts with her. Lori gave her $40 cash and then never had her back. 9/19, Rexburg woman claims to have been on flight with Chad Daybell on a flight from Idaho Falls to Mesa, Arizona. The woman said Daybell planned to help a relative in the valley who needed to remodel her home. He said, "I hope we can get this work done in the time that I have before I have to be back," said the woman who wished to remain anonymous. 9/19 through the 23rd is when Melanie Gibb visited Lori Vallow in Rexburg. Tylee was already missing, and Melanie said Lori never so much as mentioned her, except to say she was at BYU. You said in this question that it could have been possible, but it didn't feel like it, and that there were question marks and didn't feel like the truth. JJ Vallow is last seen at Kennedy Elementary on September 23rd, 19. 9/14, Lori disenrolls JJ Vallow from school, indicating she would homeschool him. JJ is not seen with her. On 9/24, Lori told the babysitter JJ had gone to stay with his grandma for several weeks and she was in Hawaii and that the babysitter's services were no longer needed. On the 24th, Tylee Ryan's 17th birthday passes with no social media posts. 9/18, Colby has a text exchange with Tylee 4 days after her birthday and tells Dr. Phil it didn't sound like her. He asked her to call him that night and she didn't. Then there's a transcript of that text. Colby said in an interview with Justin Lum that he didn't feel like her text started getting weird until later in October. And then late September, Chad Daybell and a friend, fellow Doomsday author Julie Rowe, speak by phone about Tammy's imminent death. From a Fox 13 post, 3 weeks before Tammy's death, Rowe and Daybell called each other. And I asked him, "Do you still see Tammy dying?" And he said, "Yes, I do," said Rowe. Tammy was in charge of finances and covers for Daybell's books. Rowe said Daybell wanted to get out of the business, but Tammy wanted to keep going. He said, I'm ready to get out now. Excuse me. And Tammy doesn't want to get out. When she passes, I'm done. I can't keep doing this, said Rowe. October 1st, Lori got the 10 by 10 storage unit at Self Storage Plus in Rexburg. The storage unit is 350 yards from the Rexburg transfer station, aka the city dump. 10-1, this is the last time Janice Cox, Lori Vallow's mother, speaks to JJ. She alleges that she spoke to him on the phone and provided a copy of their phone bill as proof.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it goes without saying that a phone bill only proves a call was made to Lori's cell phone, not that she spoke to JJ. On 10-2,
Yeah.
Lori orders the ring later shown in her wedding photos from Amazon using Charles Vallow's account. And this is 17 days before Chad Daybell's wife Tammy died. So
Hey, those rings are a hot commodity. I know a lot of people interested in those.
dude, they are.
They've been flying off the shelves at Amazon.
I bet. Everybody wants to duplicate this. So Lori Vallow and a man who appears to be Chad Daybell are seen on surveillance at the storage unit.
Touching butts.
So what were they doing at the storage unit? I don't have to read all this.
Pretty much loading the kids' stuff in and out. There was a car, not a car seat, but like a third row that they had taken out of one of the cars, brought it in, came back the following day, 2 days later, something like that, and then put it back in the car. And that's one, when it was first released, people were confusing it, thought it was like legs. They thought it was a body that was in something, but it wasn't. It was just the chair from the car.
So
Then they were speculating what it could have been used for, and it could have been used for what were they saying? It could have been used to take the seat out of the Jeep that was used to shoot at Brandon. And they were, because people were saying that it was Alex with Lori, and that meant Alex couldn't have been the shooter because he was with Lori. And then it was obvious that it was Chad because he was touching her butt, and he was fat as hell and had a big ass head. Obvious that it wasn't Alex. And then someone just released a video of her like doing karaoke the other day in a football jersey that was Colby's, that was found in the storage unit. So she took it all the way up to
what
she was wearing
Colby's?
a football jersey. It was like a Indianapolis Colts number 80 something blue football jersey, and the name on the back said Colby, and it was one of the items tagged and removed from the storage unit.
Hold on one sec. Okay, sorry. All right. Okay, so what date were we on? 9?
Your screen went black. I can't see it now.
Oh, it did? Did I turn it off? There we go. All right, you should see it again. So we were on, dude, I don't even know, but we're going to have to do this in 2 parts because this is a lot. And we've been going for almost 3 hours. Can you believe that?
Seems like this happens every time, and we don't even touch on anything.
It's because
we just get started.
It's because of all these different avenues. It's crazy, but you know, it has to be gone over or it doesn't make sense, you know. Now we can go back and put it all together. So
Can I tell everyone a secret about
yeah.
this Dan Judd stuff? And if we can get it together, what we might finally have answers to?
Yes. Let's
Methgate.
all
we
right.
might finally have answers to Methgate.
Okay, so tell everybody what Methgate is if they don't know.
Ooh, Methgate's the secret email supposedly written by Kay and Marilyn Woodcock with notes from a private investigator and Dan Judd. And yeah, there's the name Dan Judd again. And it was about like Chad being a meth kingpin and Alex using his semi truck to run drugs from Mexico up through Arizona, Utah, Idaho. And it talked about Operation Underground Railroad and how Chad and Emma Daybell, how they use Operation Underground Railroad as a disguise to do fundraisers and stuff, and then they keep the money to themselves to use it on their own little adventures. And
so how is this guy gonna have the answer?
Because Dan Judd his name is on the document, and he supposedly gave them a bunch of the information about Sean Little Bear's name is on there. Parrot, Sosa, Mo, just all of these people. This is why Methgate always keeps coming back, because all of these names, right? Judd doesn't like Daybell at all now, but before, this is why Judd was so willing to hand over the Daybell info and all of this dirt. So this is important. Like, this could be, even if it squashes Methgate and says it's all a lie, at least we can finally like put Methgate to bed,
right,
and move on. But it always comes back to Methgate. Like, something comes back, whether Operation Underground Railroad pops back up or something involving meth pops back up. Dan Judd, his name pops back up. All these names, all these actions keep coming back. And he didn't give the names, but it basically said that there's like congressmen, senators involved in a VALLOW, and that there's Rexburg PD officers, and that's how they're able to move the meth and the children through Idaho without being searched. And even if it's all just a load of crap, which, I mean, 99.9% chance that it probably is, at least we might have like some answers as to
whether it's true or
did
not.
Did he really work with him? Like,
Yeah.
Did he hand over information, or did someone just say, if he says that, no, I never gave him any of that information, then we're back at square one. Like, all right, who would say that they got all this info from Dan Judd to build this with this private investigator? But Dan has all these answers and videos and photos, possibly going back 8 years, that could have Chad and Lori together. Even if it's just for a photo, it'll prove that they've known each other for a lot longer than what they originally tried to make us believe, which had already been proven false the first time.
Right. So we wait with bated breath, Dan, for that proof.
Come on, Dan, be our man.
Bring it, Dan. All right. So we are at the point where Brandon is shot at his house. And
Yeah.
The shooter, so let's go through October, and then we'll pick up after that. Does that sound good? All right.
Yeah, just finish October.
Yeah, let's just finish up October. So Brandon is shot at outside his house at around 9:30 a.m. on October 2nd. The shooter was driving Tylee Ryan's 2018 Jeep Wrangler, which is registered to Charles VALLOW. Boudreaux later identifies Alex Cox as the shooter. On the 3rd, go ahead.
Just got to add, the following day. Well, no, wait. That was after. Never mind. That's the same Jeep that after Charles was killed, Jason Moe made the Facebook post and said, "I'm looking for a used 4-door Jeep Wrangler. Anyone know a guy?"
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, basically saying this guy's not using it anymore.
Huh.
It's pretty much, yeah.
That was
Jeep
his message.
Wrangler. Yep, it's a Jeep Wrangler. Once again. All right.
Okay, so then on the 3rd, the browser history on the computer shows that Lori's wedding ring was ordered. The day before shows someone searching for wedding dresses. And then Lori and a man who appears to be her brother, Alex Cox, are seen on surveillance at the storage unit. They retrieve the tire and back seat and put them into Vallow's car. On the 4th, Tammy Daybell visits her parents in Springville, Utah, allegedly at Chad's urging. Chad Daybell claims divine urging from ancestors. So he told Tammy, hey, you need to go visit your parents. Then on the 6th of October, Alex visits the storage unit by himself. On the 9th of October, Tammy Daybell files a report with the Rexburg Police Department claiming to be shot at by a masked man carrying a paintball gun. On the 9th of October is the last time Melanie Pulowski has seen her kids. On the 10th, Tylee Ryan's Venmo account shows a payment to her older half-brother Colby with "We love you" in the description field. On 10/12, allegedly Chad buys rope and a ski mask at Cabela's in Idaho Falls. She says that this is an unverified as a claim can get, but decided to add it with a disclaimer. I don't know where that came from. He has sources on everything. Approximate date, Melanie Boudreaux allegedly texts her estranged husband, Brandon, to let him know she planned to move to Boise. That was on 10/14. She said, the kids could remain with you in Arizona. You would have to arrange for daycare, and I could have the kids for school holidays and summers. Or I could take the kids to Idaho and enroll them in school there, and you could have the kids for school holidays and summers. Please let me know what you'd like to do. On the 16th of October, Tylee Ryan's Venmo account shows another payment to Colby with a heart emoji. 10/16, a man allegedly accesses Lori Vallow's storage unit and spends what appears to be 6 months on premises. 10/19, Tammy Daybell dies in her sleep. Chad claims she went to bed with a cough and just didn't wake up. Her death is believed to be natural and no autopsy is performed. An investigator told East Idaho News reporter Nate Eaton that Chad didn't seem all that curious about how she died. On the 19th, one of Chad Daybell's daughters allegedly says to Chad Daybell's friend and colleague Julie Rowe that she was most afraid of her dad getting remarried. 10/22, Tammy Daybell is interred at Spring Creek, Idaho. 10/22, a man allegedly accesses Lori Vallow's storage unit and spends 9 minutes on the premises. So on the same day that she's buried, someone's at the storage unit again. On the 23rd of October, a memorial service is held for Tammy in Rexburg. Chad's younger brother, Matt Daybell, tells East Idaho News that he and Chad had not directly spoken to each other since the service in Rexburg on October 23rd. Since that time, he said, I have texted Chad twice. Once when I heard from a neighbor of his quick marriage to Lori Vallow, expressing to him my shock and dismay at this news. Second, just recently pleading with Chad to cooperate with authorities and reveal the whereabouts of his new stepchildren. Do we know anything else about Matt Daybell? Has he spoken out or anything like that since then? Or no?
He did an interview, I think, with Nate.
And that's
Nothing
pretty
crazy.
much, and that's pretty much like all we know.
Yeah, pretty much all we were given is that no one likes Chad and everyone wants to disassociate from him because what he believes in is so crazy, and they don't want to be involved in it. They don't want to have their temple recommends and their neighbors.
Do we know
Temple ends take away and their neighbors, eyeballing them, wondering if they're involved
right
with his ideas and whatnot. So,
do we know who the man is that kept going to the storage unit?
Yeah, it was Chad.
It was Chad.
Yeah, it was Chad. He was touching her butt in one of them, on the one on October 2nd. Like he was slapping her butt.
Cute.
Yeah, and that was one of the giveaways from people because, Chad's 3/4 sleeve t-shirts and his fat head weren't obvious enough for people to think that it wasn't Alex.
3/4 sleeve?
You haven't seen his t-shirts? Like all his sleeves are like past his elbow.
It just cracks me up. Okay, so October 25th, a friend of Tylee receives a text from Tylee, but she says it didn't sound like her. And a man allegedly accesses Lori Vallow's storage unit again on the 25th and is there for 10 minutes. And then Melanie Boudreau's Rexburg apartment was taken off the market on the 25th. So Melanie moves to Rexburg too, right?
Yes.
A man allegedly accesses Lori's storage unit and spends 11 minutes on the premises, so the 25th and 26th. And then on the 28th, two men who appear to be Alex Cox and Chad Daybell are seen moving bikes and other items into the storage unit Lori rented on October 1st. They're there for 6 minutes. Right. Yeah. Then on the 28th, Melanie Boudreau signs a lease on her apartment in the same complex as Lori Vallow and Alex Cox. So the whole fam is living in the same apartment complex. On 10/29, unidentified woman seen playfully running through the snow and then approaching Lori Vallow's apartment. 10:31, Melanie Boudreau and Alex Cox fly from Idaho Falls to Phoenix, then pack up Melanie to move to Rexburg, Idaho. Don't they get sick of moving? Shit.
I don't think so.
My God. Approximate date, Nanny texts Lori one more time about working for her. Lori never responds. Rich Robertson, a private investigator hired by Brandon Boudreau, sees Melanie Boudreau and Alex Cox outside her home taking her children's clothes, toys, and beds to the curb. And then late October of 19, Colby Ryan says communication with Tylee started to change. He started calling and FaceTiming her, but she wouldn't answer and always had a reason for why she couldn't talk. And the text didn't sound like her. And then we're into late October, early November. I think we stop there. We'll start at beginning of November.
Yeah,
wow.
Who was it?
God.
Who was it that was saying, was it Colby's wife? Saying that Lori was saying that Tylee had her iPad and all her social media taken away.
When was it?
And Colby was like, she would never, that's not my mom's parenting style. She would never do that. It was something like that.
Oh, like she said, oh, I took her stuff away like as a punishment.
Yeah, like Yes, okay. Yeah, Kelsey said it, but then Colby was like, that's not my mom's parenting style. She wouldn't take away. Or maybe it was Annie saying, I don't know, someone was saying that that's not what Lori would do. That wasn't her thing, taking away social media and phone and iPad, stuff like that.
Things that would keep her kids out of her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
Robbie,
seems like,
Lori was not normal dating at least back to 07.
yeah, see, Annie said that it wasn't Colby.
She said it wasn't?
It was Annie. Annie said it was her. Said no way. Colby agreed with Kelsey. Yeah, see. There's something. Telling you, blinded by money, I guess.
Hmm.
But, you know, and we can't see how much those Venmo transactions were. We can see how often they were happening. But we don't know how much money they were for. It could be $1.
Right.
You know, who knows? But
we do know it was regular. You know, it was monthly.
Yeah, like a couple times a month.
Right.
It was happening, not consistently on the same
day or anything, but yeah, it was regularly.
And it, you know, there's like little things that you can like little emojis and stuff that you can put in your Venmo transactions so that people kind of see like what they are. But I mean, people put like strippers and cocaine in their stuff if they want. But
Annie said that several of their transactions have now been deleted.
Yeah, someone went back and deleted some of them. Like there was shady stuff. Like Zulema is also someone else that went and deleted her social media and her own business website, stuff like that. Like she removed a lot of her stuff off of there.
I know, but who would be in Tylee's account? Someone set it to private.
Well, and I think Lori said that she used Tylee's account to send money to Colby because she wasn't like technologically, I don't know, she wasn't
like she didn't know how to do it,
so she didn't know how to do it. But then it came out and said that she had like 60 burner phones, and then her friend April said that Lori had multiple iPhones. So if Lori was using multiple iPhones to contact different people, did she have a different Apple ID on each one? Like, was she smart enough to know to create a different Apple ID on a burner phone, or was she like, oh, I want my same music, you know,
right?
And used her same Apple ID, which completely defeated the purpose of everything.
Well, I don't know. So, I think that brother Alex probably covered those bases for her, maybe.
But they said Hector did counterintelligence, and Parrot he was military and had some sort of background in counterintelligence. And I don't know if that's because he was trained by Hector as much as he could train him or whatnot, but apparently there was apps that they would use to encrypt messages like Signal. And so like if you communicated directly with Parrot, that's something that you would have had on your phone. You wouldn't have texted with him on iMessage or Facebook Messenger. You would have been using an encrypted messaging app. So it just seems crazy to me that with all of that, knowing Sosa had all of these people in their inner circle doing stuff, that Parrot had everyone using encrypted messaging software, how the hell did Alex get caught with his phone at these locations at these times? Like, was he just too stupid? Like, oh, I'll never get caught?
Right, right.
Like, why was everyone
Sloppy?
knows, like, I'm pretty sure my 7-year-old would know not to take a damn cell phone with her if she was going to go do something stupid.
Well, there's no perfect crime. There's always mistakes made, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. I mean, he'd have to know that that phone is pinging wherever he's at for them to have all these burner phones. Right?
Mm-hmm. I see someone talking. I know what they're up to.
Who?
Like, it's just weird. They had people in positions. They had plans to be able to get away with things and not get caught, and to be able to do things without being noticed. But it was like they just didn't give a shit, or they just thought that it didn't matter, but that no one was on to them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Robbie,
they shouldn't have been. Go ahead.
Robbie said in chat, you want to know what? We aren't going to see Chad and Lori's text. Maybe not now. Because they're building a case. Yeah, then we're not going to see them now.
Right.
But maybe in this preliminary, we'll hear something, or definitely during the trials. But anyhow, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we're not going to see them now, but
eventually,
if they're using, I don't know, like these apps that they're using, like Signal. I know Signal's pretty encrypted. There's some people that when they want to message me info on the case and whatnot, they won't do it through Messenger or anything like that. You know, they won't. I've used Signal before, and then it's like you have 15 seconds to read what's happening, and then it just like disappears, like it just kind of like poof, gone. And you take a screenshot, and the person like instantly knows you've taken a screenshot, kind of like, I don't know, I think Snapchat does that.
mm-hmm.
So
I don't know if Lori would be smart enough to, I don't know, just encrypted messages and shit.
I mean, it's just an app though. Like it's not like it's anything crazy.
Technical, yeah.
But you would think that they had the technology. It might not be something that, you know, when you go down to a police station and they're like, all right, we need to clear you as a suspect, like something happened, the first thing they're going to do is ask if they can take your cell phone and connect it to their computer system so that they can see your photos, your GPS, and your internet search history. And if it's encrypted, you got to think that that's going to take something else from that. Like they're not just going to be able to pull it within that 20-minute time period where they connect the phone and give it back to you and say, all right, you're good to go.
Right.
But I don't know what all it takes to get into something, or how encrypted. I think maybe it's just an encrypted app so that some random person can't pick it up and read stuff.
So you think they'll be able to retrieve those then?
You would think. I mean, it's the FBI.
True.
But, and I want to know more about what Sosa. So there was the WikiLeaks. There was the WikiLeaks drop in like 2012, where they released a bunch of data, and Chris Parrott's email was one of the however many pages of stuff released. And his name was on there, and Hector's name was on there with their email and like a list, and it was the Strat4 communications, and it stated like what it was, and it was like a geospatial counterintelligence thing. So basically like drones and satellites taking pictures over areas and people going through the pictures and being able to locate, you know, what certain things are and whatnot. Like in the military, you would have a drone flying over, and then someone would be sitting in a building, you know, back in Nevada maybe, and just watching and basically saying, all right, there's 3 bad guys in that building, and that building's clear right there. And yes, I'm identifying. They're basically saying, yes, I know I'm positive that's who's in there. And so they can do a drone strike basically from there, or send people in. So you don't know what exactly they were using those photos and videos for.
Right.
And who they were using them for. And then I think they also had people that worked for the city that did, like, I think, was it Eric Smith that's with Julie Rowe? He does mapping for the city, so like planning city neighborhoods and stuff like that. So he would have access to plans for development in all of like Rexburg and however far that would go. And he taught classes up at BYU, so he probably had more than that. And you know that they're using their jobs to help each other out and stuff that they shouldn't be sharing and whatnot. So
of course,
it's just, there's a lot of other stuff out there we haven't even gotten into. We don't even know, nothing that we'll probably be able to find without someone talking.
Well, we're waiting for someone to talk.
Yeah, but I think some of this stuff, people are going to be talking to the FBI. They're not going to be talking to
us, someone
like us. I think it's like some of this stuff. The way Hector's kind of a doofus, and he threatens people. I know, I'm trained in counterintelligence. You don't want to cross me, you know? What's he going to do? Like, he's basically said that he can drain your bank account and ruin your online history, your background report and all that, your credit score, all that stuff. But I don't think Hector could physically hurt anything.
Leanne Hicks wants to know, let's just buy Annie's timeline. Is it accurate?
Well,
April
and Andy are lovers.
Oh my
Secret lovers.
Oh my God. I can't with y'all's drama.
You know how it is.
I know.
You YouTube. I don't know how the hell they're all. I'm just looking at the chat right now and seeing everyone rip them apart. Just think it's funny that they can't get into our group, so you
guys have so much drama.
Dude, April's that chick that like told everyone that Lori found out that Chad was arrested and the kids were found in the yard, and she was like so distraught and causing this giant scene, and then she got called out on it, and so she was like, I'm archiving the group, Carl's an asshole, and then archived it. Like, you have 15 minutes to finish your conversations, and then archived her group.
So Andy and April.
Andy and April.
Looks like they were timed. Yeah. They were timed out.
I'm telling you, they're all. Ask Carl about his portal.
Yes, Leanne Hicks. Man. We wouldn't use her timeline if it wasn't accurate.
Yeah, she said at the very beginning that it was older and that's what we were going off of, and then we had updated information for certain things.
Uppers, I sure
But
did.
it's accurate.
All right, Carl, thank you so much for giving me 3 hours of your life tonight.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Let's do it again.
I know. Well, we got to start in November. So you guys, we're going to pick up and start this timeline in November.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Get our Dan Judd secrets.
Dan Judd, if you're listening, my messenger is open.
Yeah.
Or
right?
Dropbox is open.
Yeah, I know. He has the Dropbox. Come on, Dan. I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Oh my God. You are crazy. All right, thanks guys. We have over 600 people here. Jesus. Thank you guys for sticking around, and thank you again, Carl and Melissa, wherever you are. Thanks for ditching me tonight. I'm just kidding. Melissa had to tend to her son. So anyways, thanks for being here, and thanks again, Carl. We will talk soon.
Yep.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
All right, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, thanks again. And thanks for sticking around. And if you're watching the replay, just know that this timeline is by Annie Cushing, who is JJ VALLOW's biological aunt. And it is a little outdated, so we're doing the updates as we go through it. So if you could please give this video a thumbs up, and part 2 will come when hopefully soon. I got to talk to Carl and see when he's available, but we will continue from November on. So thank you for being here. Thank you, new subscribers and members, and I will talk to you soon. Stay safe.